Forget the stock market charts and the black and white photos of Wall Street. The real story of the Great Depression isn't found in history books. It's found in the scrape of a spoon against the bottom of an empty bowl. It's the smell of boiling water, a few canned tomatoes, and maybe, if you were lucky, a hot dog. It's the taste of poverty. During this era, hunger wasn't a temporary crisis. It was a way of life. Families didn't cook for pleasure. They cooked to survive. When bread became a luxury and beans became a form of currency, dignity was often the hardest thing to swallow. Imagine this: hundreds of people standing in the biting cold, huddled together in a line that stretches for blocks. They're not waiting for a movie premiere. They're waiting for a bowl of soup. Soup kitchens, run by charities and churches, became lifelines. But these weren't hearty, thick stews. Often it was just hot water with a few vegetables floating in it. The bread lines were even longer, sometimes more crowded than the lines at the banks where people had lost their life savings. These meals weren't exactly free. They cost a piece of your pride. For many, the shame of standing in that line, with hands outstretched, felt heavier than the hunger in their stomachs. The only thing that filled up faster than their bellies was the sense of despair. In these soup kitchens, a particular dish became infamous: Hoover stew. It was named sarcastically after President Herbert Hoover, who many blamed for the economic crash. There was no real recipe. It was a desperate mix of whatever the kitchen had that day, usually macaroni, canned tomatoes, and if they were fortunate, a few slices of hot dog. It was the symbol of survival, the comfort food for the forgotten. People ate it in church basements, in drafty community halls, and huddled in city alleys. It didn't taste good, but it tasted like another day of life. The sound of spoons scraping against those metal bowls became the anthem of a generation. When you have nothing, you have to invent everything. People's kitchens became laboratories of desperation. They created mock meals, illusions of foods they could no longer afford. The most famous was the mock apple pie. It had a crust, it was sweet, it had cinnamon, but it didn't have a single apple. The filling was made from crushed crackers, sugar, and spices, cooked until it resembled the real thing. Coffee was a distant memory, replaced by roasted barley or chicory root. Foraging became a necessity. Dandelion salads and sandwiches made with nothing but 2 slices of bread and a few slivers of onion were common. Mothers became magicians, turning scraps and imagination into meals. They weren't cooking for flavor anymore. They were cooking to remember what flavor felt like, to give their children a ghost of a memory of better times. For children, the Depression was a constant, gnawing emptiness. In schools across the country, it wasn't uncommon for a child to simply faint in the middle of a lesson, their stomach having been empty for days. Teachers, seeing this firsthand, started bringing what little food they had from home, quietly passing a piece of bread or a piece of fruit to a student in need. Charity lunches were set up, but they were meager, often just watery soup and half a biscuit. Milk, a staple for growing children, became a rare treat, maybe once a week. They learned arithmetic, they learned to read, and they learned the sharp, painful lesson of hunger. Perhaps the most cruel and twisted irony of the entire era happened not in the cities, but in the countryside. While millions starved, farmers were forced to destroy food. It sounds insane, but it was a matter of survival math. The economic crash caused crop prices to plummet so low that it cost more to harvest and ship the food than what farmers could sell it for. So they burned fields of wheat. They poured thousands of gallons of milk into ditches. They slaughtered livestock they couldn't afford to feed or sell. It wasn't an act of malice. It was an act of economic desperation. They burned abundance to save their farms from bankruptcy, all while watching their neighbors in the cities starve. It was a heartbreaking paradox, where food was everywhere, yet completely out of reach. But in the midst of this overwhelming darkness, something incredible happened. Humanity showed up. When food vanished, people's compassion came to the forefront. Faced with starvation, they refused to stop being people. Families shared whatever meager scraps they had with their neighbors. Communities started planting gardens in any patch of available dirt. Victory gardens, before the term was even invented. Strangers helped strangers. Churches and local groups rallied to keep their communities alive, one bowl of soup at a time. It was a quiet, powerful resistance against despair. They proved that when the stomach is empty, the heart can still be full. The resilience forged in those years became a blueprint for generations to come, a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of absolute hardship. This isn't just a story about hunger. It's a story of how, when faced with nothing, people found everything in each other. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that matter. It helps us continue to bring these important histories to light. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.